For most of its life, one of the busiest airfields in America did not officially exist. It was on no public map. It had no acknowledged name. Aircraft flew in and out of it every week. Hundreds of people worked there and could not say where they had been. Guess when the government finally admitted in writing that it was real? 2013, 60 years after work started. And the interesting part is not the secrecy, it is what the secrecy cost. The reason it exists is unglamorous, and it is the same reason any company has a locked room. If you are building something nobody else has, the shape of it is the secret, not the plans, the shape. One photograph of an aircraft on the ground tells a rival what it is for, how far it flies, what it carries, whether it can be seen on radar. Guess how much of that you can work out from a single clear side view? Almost all of it, if you know what you are looking at. So America put its test flying in a dry lake bed surrounded by mountains, not because it is remote, because the mountains stop anybody looking in from the ground. Now, the part that sounds made up and is completely ordinary. The people who worked there mostly did not live there. They flew in from a city, worked a shift, and flew home. Ordinary-looking airliners, unmarked, leaving from a private terminal. Guess what those flights are called on the schedule? They have a call sign, and they show up in air traffic systems like anything else. Thousands of people have done this commute over the years. The most secret place in the country runs on something that looks like an office bus service. Here is where it stops being a story about a base. Every secret has a running cost, and almost nobody prices it properly. First, you pay for the place itself, and everything there has to be built twice, once for the real work and once for the version other people are allowed to see. Then you pay in people, because everybody has to be checked, and checking is slow. Then you pay in speed, because the person with the answer cannot talk to the person with the question. Guess which of those is the expensive one? The last one, always, and it never appears on any budget line. Two teams solving the same problem in separate rooms is the most ordinary waste in existence, and in a secret program, nobody is allowed to notice it is happening. So why would anybody ever admit that a place like this exists? Because a secret has an expiration date, and it is usually earlier than people think. Once satellites could photograph anything, a fence stopped being much of a fence. Once the aircraft being tested were retired, the shape was not worth hiding. And once enough people had worked there, the number of mouths made it unmanageable. Guess what actually forced the admission in the end? A lawsuit and a request for old documents from ordinary people. Not a leak, not a spy, not a photograph. Paperwork. That is how most long secrets end.
Not dramatically, they just become more expensive to keep than they are worth. Every business has a small version of this and manages it badly. There is something you do not want a competitor to know, so you keep it in a small circle. That is usually correct, and the mistake is never in the decision, it is in never asking again. The circle stays small long after the reason has gone, because nobody has the job of reopening it. Guess how much of what any company treats as confidential would matter if it were published tomorrow? Far less than anyone believes, and the cost of pretending otherwise is paid every single day. The rule the base ended up proving is simple. A secret is a bill, not a wall, and it arrives monthly.